Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squad for boxing news and views from around the internet. Andy Ruiz Jr. appears to be playing hardball, not willing to sign a contract to fight Anthony Joshua in Saudi Arabia unless he gets some more money. Well, that's according to The Athletic. Mike Coppinger, see here on screen. Sources tell The Athletic Andy Ruiz Jr. isn't expected to sign off on the rematch in Saudi Arabia unless he's guaranteed a significantly higher purse than the approximately $9 million he's guaranteed to fight Anthony Joshua again. So that $9 million figure, that is what was agreed in the first contract. So before Anthony Joshua agreed to fight Andy Ruiz Jr., prior to the June 1st fight, 5 or 6 weeks before, signed a deal where he would get a certain amount for the first fight, and if he won, then he would get a certain amount for the second fight, and that gave promotional rights and control for a rematch to Matchroom Boxing, etc. And this is why they've come through and eventually said, look, we're going to be fighting in Saudi Arabia, and this is the date, because that was in the first contract. So Andy Ruiz Jr. getting reportedly $9 million for the second fight. Anthony Joshua, well, who knows how much he's going to get, but it seems like he is by far and away getting the lion's share. So there's been talk of site fees of upwards of $40 million US. There's been talk from Gareth Davis that the pool of money, the pot of money involved for this fight is about £70 million, which is about $85 million. So whatever the gap between what Ruiz is getting and what Joshua would be vast, maybe 5, 6, 7 times more than Ruiz is going to be getting, possibly even more. I guess it depends how well some of this would do on pay-per-view or the revenue streams once they're tallied up. Joshua will be getting a decent cut. So yeah, Ruiz obviously looking at this as going, $9 million, I'm not going to be fighting in Mexico City, I'm the champion, I'm not going to be fighting in the United States, where that is his home country. He must be thinking $9 million, there's a lot of money on the table and I'm not getting most of it. A lot of people will jump to, well, he signed this in the first contract, and that's completely true. But it doesn't mean that he can't stall for more money. And what I mean by that is, because I'm sure some people will jump to well, he's going to lose in court. If this goes to court, this is going to be very bad for Andy Ruiz Jr. He's going to be, eating up a lot of his money in legal fees, etc. But think about what he could do through stalling. This is his leverage in this situation. They've announced the date for December the 7th. So if Andy Ruiz Jr. doesn't like his end of the wedge, which is reportedly $9 million, well, what can he do? How can he leverage to get more money? Stall. And if things get tied up in protracted legal arguments in court for several months, well, the fight just goes away. So that is some of his leverage in the situation. Push for more money by taking it to court. That might seem counterintuitive, but the threat of legal action may actually see him get more money, because I don't think Eddie Hearn or Anthony Joshua will want the date to slip by. Remember, they had that big Wembley date. They couldn't get anyone to fight Anthony Joshua on April the 13th, I think it was, of this year. So they eventually went to the United States. And obviously that wasn't ideal for what they were looking to do. And ultimately it ended up being an American nightmare for Anthony Joshua. So Ruiz taking Joshua, Hearn, whoever to court to try and get more money, or should I say him being taken to court to live up to his end of the bargain, that might actually put the date at risk, put the event at risk, and then all of a sudden maybe some of that big money goes away. Everyone loses out, not just Andy Ruiz Jr. missing out on a few million. So it might be one of these situations where they've looked at the risk of this situation going, well, actually, we might be able to squeeze a few more million at least from this deal by asking for more at this point, because if they lose the event, it all goes away. And people will say, well, he signed the contract the first time around, it is locked in, this is what he's getting. And that is true to some extent. There were the bones of whatever is going to be in this new contract were agreed the first time around. So he does have some obligations to fulfill, but at the same time, not everything was decided the first time around, the site and the venue. So there is going to be a fight contract for this event, and this is the piece of paper that, ultimately he may not sign. There'll be other paperwork too involved in ahead of this fight that he needs to sign off on. So he will be able to stall to some extent, and we're getting the first indications that if he doesn't get what he wants, that he could end up stalling this thing out. And I guess for some people, that might not be a bad thing, because I have noted there has been a pretty lukewarm reaction from fans about Joshua and Ruiz to going to Saudi Arabia, where it's clearly all about the money. They're going there to clip the ticket. Anthony Joshua's going to get a mega bag of money. And, you know, a lot of fans are saying, well, what happened to, you know, you wanting to fight for your fans, do it in front of your fans? He was only saying a few days ago, I'm going to be pushing to fight in Cardiff. And then obviously it goes to Saudi Arabia. And for all the talking in the world that Anthony Joshua can do about it's for the fans, I want to fight in Cardiff, and him saying that he didn't have a say and he'd sort of step back from the decision-making process regards to the rematch, I don't think people really believe that. I don't believe that. He's had a big say. Eddie Hearn back in June said that Anthony Joshua was the one making the decision. And obviously he's had some input into this, but obviously publicly he wants to sort of step back and not be sort of tarred with this decision brush here. But Joshua certainly did have a big hand in this going to Saudi Arabia. And if he wasn't comfortable with the rematch being there, and if he wanted it to be in the UK or the US, he could have put his foot down, because ultimately Eddie Hearn is always saying that Anthony Joshua is his boss. He's the one calling the shots here. And I think it's pretty clear it is all about money. And I think that's why some people are very disappointed here, because they were hoping that it would go back to the UK. Joshua would have those advantages at home in terms of the home crowd, 80,000 people. He would be in an environment where he's comfortable, etc. But now he's obviously going to a neutral venue where it's not exactly a boxing country, not steeped with history for big boxing events. And a lot of people will be looking at this venue going, well, do I travel here? There's a whole bunch of things. And Mike Coppinger in another tweet had actually sort of said one of the things Andy Ruiz Jr. could look at if he was to fight it legally was site security risk. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is level 2 on the United States travel advisory list. But I guess for fans as well, they'll be looking at this and going, is this really possible in terms of, do I want to go there? You know, obviously it's a very different culture. You can't do certain things. It may actually be an event fans want to give a miss. And I guess, you know, Eddie Hearn and the whole team that's made this decision to go to Saudi Arabia has weighed all these things up and gone, well, on balance, with all the money that's involved, we are going to clip the ticket here and take whatever is on offer. I said in my other video when this was all confirmed that, you know, boxing is not just about the fans. It is a business in disguise. It's a business first. Fans are almost secondary to the actual business considerations, because they have to make money. This is what they're looking to do. And if Anthony Joshua and Andy Ruiz Jr. fight again, Joshua loses again, well, their big cash cow takes a massive hit, and some of his popularity will just, you know, dissipate and go away. So this is all about making as much money as possible for everyone involved. Now, on the off chance that it doesn't go their way, because if they went for half the money involved in the UK and still lost, well, they would have missed out on a big bag of money. But in respect of Andy Ruiz Jr. here, this is some sort of hardball tactics, some posturing on his part. And I could see maybe he will be able to push for a bit more money, because ultimately, you know, if he does delay and stall and he does let things go down a legal route, that puts the event at risk, that puts the tens of millions of dollars at risk, and he could ultimately get what he wants here. So it's hardball tactics, but he may actually have something here just to, you know, use his leverage in his favor to get a few more dollars. What do you make of it all? Drop a comment, loud and often. Hit like, hit subscribe, follow me on Twitter. Boxing_squared. I'm out.